Welcome to RVing in New England, the nation's only forum that puts you on stage with some of the biggest names in the RV industry. And now your hosts, John DiPietro and Bob Zagami.
And hello, everyone, and welcome once again to, as the sign says, where's the sign? Right there. RVing in New England. My name is John DiPietro. Bob Zagami this is how they say it on TV. Bob Zagami is on assignment. But Bob Zagami is on a plane flying back to Florida, and we'll be back in time for the Boston RV and Camping Expo. And we want to welcome everybody here and let you know that we are glad to have you back. We're glad to be back, and we're glad and hope that all of you had a very Merry Christmas, and we'll be having, in the next couple of days, a Happy New Year. So we want to let you know what we're going to do tonight. Now, we were talking about doing an entire show about the Boston RV and Camping Expo, but there's this little thing called COVID or something like that basically makes everything that we say today possibly contradictory to what's going to happen on January 14th, which is just a little bit over 2 weeks and 2 days away for the Expo itself. So as of right now, the Expo is still on, and the only requirements are based upon what our friends at the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the city of Boston say. So you need a face mask, and you need to show proof of one vaccination. So bring that little card with you. That's got more importance these days than your Social Security card or whatever. But we're going to be talking about that show a little bit, and we've got a couple commercials lined up for that. And we have a very special live guest, and her name is Sandy Ellingson. She is going to be joining us in just a minute, live from Georgia, and she is probably one of the busiest people in the entire RV industry. We're going to talk about where they've been, but more importantly, where they're going and how you'll be able to meet Sandy in Boston in just a couple of weeks with her newest venture. We also have a recorded message that we put together, Mr. Zagami and I put together today, about how to get the most from attending an RV show. And I know that all of you in the audience will have attended an RV show before, and buying an RV can be a very daunting experience. I'm sure Chris Andro will agree with that, and Tom Zabrowski will agree with that, and Kevin Hort, can never get your name right. Kevin from Indiana, and Walter Swenson and Bernie will all agree that buying an RV for the first time, you have to do a lot of research. So with that being said, I want to have our producer and director, Bill Sell. Bill, put yourself on for a second and say hello to our audience, because
hi,
we would
everyone.
not be able to do these shows without Bill. Bill has worked with us in producing the New England Camping Expo last April, the virtual Expo, and has a great history in doing virtual shows all over the country. In fact, he was at our Boston show 3-4 years ago when he brought all the bikes in. Mm-hmm. And Zagami will remember the bikes. They were over in the car show, right? Over in the car show. And we had some room there. I drove an electric bike flawlessly. Zagami flawlessly drove his into a wall, but recovered fine. Hasn't been the same.
Well, and the video, John, that we have is that you see Bob's head going, and then it disappears because it was behind things. And then a few minutes later, it pops back up again and comes back. And that was him after he wiped out. He still enjoys these bikes.
Yep. And you know what? We always talk about camping being a family thing. And Bill, you can get ready to get Sandy to come up here. But I wanted to introduce one of our special guests tonight, who is the epitome of family camping. And he is my grandson, Emerson O'Donoghue, famous for that show that we used to do in the car. Come here, Emmy. What's the name of that show that we did in the car?
It's called Mornings with
Emerson. But Emmy, you like camping, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you like best about camping?
hiking.
Hiking. We've never done that, folks. See, I think
We should do it.
We should do it. Right. I should do it. Exactly. But you have two favorite campgrounds. What are the favorite campgrounds that you like to go to?
It's Normandy Farms and Bainley's.
Yeah. And how long have you been camping with Nana and I?
Probably like 3 years, maybe?
3 years? Oh, more than that, Amy.
Maybe like 6.
Yeah, 6. Okay, stay on the camera here. So tell people to have a great show tonight, and you're going to go
have the best show ever.
Okay, and you're going to go get your sister who's going to come up and say a couple words, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Right now?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah. So, Bill, if you want to bring up Sandy, that would be great, and we will tell everybody about Sandy Ellingson, who I referred to jokingly as the first lady of RVing, but I thought maybe that she would have to say because she's married to the president of RVing, but Sandy, you're the president and the first lady all at the same time, right?
Absolutely. Of course I am.
Right. But I just want to bring in our second guest, and then we're going to talk with Sandy. This is Mila O'Donoghue. And Mila, how long have you been camping?
Since 2 years old.
Since 2 years old. And what do you like best about camping?
The pools.
The pool, huh? Do you have any favorite campgrounds?
Bailey's and Normandy Farms.
Same as your brother. Okay. So what do you have to say to people that are thinking of buying their first camper and they want to bring their grandkids? Should they do that?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's what?
Fun.
Okay. Mila, say hi to Sandy and say, have a great show, everybody.
Hi, Sandy. Have a great show, everybody.
Okay, Mila. Thanks so much. Okay. You know what? We joke about bringing kids onto the show, but in reality, what camping really is a family venture.
Yeah, it's a family adventure.
Okay, Emerson, you don't have to keep talking now. You're off the show for now. Okay. So, Sandy, last time we talked to you, you were ready to go up and away down in Albuquerque. And I think, why don't we lead with that? Because you have provided some amazing photos that, tell us what you did with that and talk about our mutual boss, RV Life, our mutual client friend, RV Life, and tell us what you did with this event.
Yeah, well, it was one of those dreams that I had been going to the Balloon Fiesta for years, and I understood as an RVer that this was an important event. But there were a lot of people in the industry that had never seen the Balloon Fiesta as an event that they should go to, nor had the Balloon Fiesta considered the industry as a really good sponsor. And so one of my friends that works there, I had talked to her for years, and she called and said, "Hey, I need some help. I can't believe you're working in the RV industry now." One thing led to another, and by the time we got there, we were the #1 sponsor of the RV industry, of the Balloon Fiesta. And that was a joint effort between a lot of people in the industry. But Andy with RV Life was the first one to believe in me, and he was amazing. He immediately kicked in, and so we had our own balloon. We sponsored all of the RV lots, and we held sessions during the day when things weren't going on with the Balloon Fiesta. Next year, it's going to be a lot more organized, because this year it was all just, wow, everything just kind of
try it
happened.
and see what happens, right?
Yes, but next year it's going to be amazing, and next year happens to be the 50th anniversary, and so it's going to be a lot of fun.
Well, we should stop and let's ask our audience, and we have not one of the best audiences, but we have probably the best audience in the entire United States, because they are so actively involved in the show. And as I mentioned to you earlier, they are, even though Bill Sell is pushing the buttons tonight, our audience, our guest our live in studio audience, outside of my grandkids, they kind of direct the show and let us know where we want to go. And the beauty of this is that we let them ask any questions that they want. So folks, if you're watching now and have any questions about the balloon, is it Fiesta or Festival?
Yes.
Because
Fiesta.
Right. I know there's a lot of questions about mixing those two words up. Have any of you been to Albuquerque, or have you been to the ones up in New England, or up in, like Tom Zabrowski will know, because there's one up in Glens Falls every year. with like over 100 balloons. And that's a big one. But Sandy, how many are usually at Albuquerque?
Well, historically they have had as many as 650 balloons, but now they try to limit it around 550 balloons on the field at one time.
Yep.
And so when they take off, it's just amazing.
Yeah. Let's just see what our audience is saying here, because we always like to check in with them. Bernie Colleton, who hosts his own show, and Bernie will be at the show, at the Boston show in a couple weeks, wearing I don't know what color shirt Campers Inn is wearing this year, Bernie, but they all wear the same. And Walter Swenson is in Florida. Walter, good evening. John, Kevin, good evening. Chris Andrew, hope your Christmas was merry and your New Year's great. Thank you, Chris. Same to you. Tom Zabrowski, hi. Tom, hi. Jerry Plant, good evening from Cape Cod. And that's where I am, Jerry, just down the street over in Centerville. And Jerry even said hello to Bill. Jim Convoy from New England RV Roof. Happy New Year all, and Happy New Year, John. Eric Tuller says Happy New Year from Summit Oaks Campground in Bushnell, Florida. Eric, tell us where that is. Where is Sandy? You know where Bushnell, Florida is?
Yes.
Where's that near?
Down near where I'm going. It's not too far from Orlando, I believe.
Oh, okay. Our friend Dante says evening. Walter Swenson says hi, Mila. Jerry Plants has taken his grands to Bailey's next summer, and Jerry wins the award because he spelt Bailey's wrong, and everybody spells Bailey's wrong. Okay, Walter Swenson, we have balloon launch over our house in Florida 2-3 times a week, typically 4 or 6 balloons. Wow, that's pretty cool. And Walter's in Central Florida, not too far I think he's in Claremont, not too far from Disney. But he's never been to the balloon fiestas. Dante says, is there an entrance fee to get into the event? There probably is for the grounds, right, Sandy? But you can look up for free.
Yeah, there you buy a ticket either to the morning launch or to the evening glow. And so,
Okay, we've lost her for a second. She probably doesn't know it.
Nope, I'm back, I think.
Oh, okay, yeah. Well, let me ask you a question on that. Is there only a morning launch, no evening launch anymore?
No, there's no evening launch. They only launch in the morning, and then in the evenings they do what's called the glow, and the whole evening is just spectacular because they have the guys that jump out of the airplanes that have the lights on their suits and all that. They come in first. Then they have the glow and the balloons all light up. And then they have one of the best fireworks shows I've ever seen.
Okay.
And they do that Thursday, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday nights.
Okay, 4 nights. Okay. So Bushnell, Florida is an hour north of Tampa, maybe an hour west of Orlando. Okay.
Yep.
So basically on that side of this. So Tom had balloon rides at a Northeast area rally in Vermont several years ago, and they love it. So Sandy, tell us about coming up next year. You're going to be doing that event again, and people are going to be able to buy tickets through you. How is that going to work?
Well, they don't buy tickets through me. The tickets go on sale January the 5th. And so when they go on sale, you'll have to grab them fast. However, there are going to be a lot of pre-events and then people in the industry sponsoring that will have sites that they may be giving away or raffling, or giving it to their big influencers or people that, they work with. So there'll be a lot of opportunities to get tickets through other venues or other ways. You won't buy them from them, but you'll be able to get one. But there are a lot of pre-events going on. And so if you can't get an event, if it sells out, the pre-event normally does not. And so I highly recommend coming in on Wednesday before it starts on Saturday and spending a few days there.
Okay. And you know what? I guess even if you don't buy tickets to the event, because the event is in the air, it's not a guaranteed flight line, because obviously every day that the balloons go up depends on which way the winds are blowing.
Correct.
But you can see that part free if you're unable to get tickets. But how many RVs would you say are at an event like this? Would you venture to guess?
Yeah, it's in the thousands. And so it depends if you're talking about on the Balloon Fiesta grounds proper or the Balloon Fiesta and all of the campgrounds and all of the boondocking spaces. Last year, we think, just guesstimating, there were around 11,000 RVers that came in over the 10 days. So people will come in, for the first few days. Some people come in the middle of the week. So there's not enough sites to have that many at one time. But as they're coming and going, that's about how many we had.
Mm. And it's not that far away from it's not really in the middle of nowhere. So you can plan a trip to include, again, depending upon where you're coming from, to include Texas or Nolans or anything in the center, center of the country. It's usually September or October. What's the time frame?
October, always the first week of October.
Okay.
So this year it's October the 1st through the 10th.
Okay. So you don't run into any issues with weather, snow and that type thing, like you would with quart size or something.
Yeah.
Something
Not
like
normally.
that.
We've been one year where it really got cold, but we never had snow.
Okay, good. So, stay tuned to RVing in New England, because I know that we're talking about having a much more active role in that this coming season. And you know what? I'm glad you're on now, because for those people that are interested, again, the tickets sell out 10 months in advance.
Yes, they do. Now, obviously people will change their plans. So occasionally you could pick up one. You can get on the wait list this year. For the first time, we're going to have a wait list that's more automated. And so that's going to be nice. So if you cannot get in immediately, you can get on the wait list. And, you can call in last minute. The other nice thing too is that they're using new software this year. One of the giants in our industry that provides software for campgrounds is providing software to the Fiesta, so that they will actually be booking their sites just like a campground would do. So we're going to know when they're coming and going. Yep. So we really are going to be able to more efficiently use that space and get more people in there.
So they won't be using a yellow legal pad to say, okay, wait a minute, you're over here.
No.
You're over there. None of that stuff.
No. And what's nice is all those wonderful volunteers who work the parking lots, they'll actually have the app on their phone, and it'll be a lot easier check-in so that they'll know exactly where people are going. Still rally style parking, but we'll know what area they're going and what row they're in.
Yeah. So the days of the clipboard with 20 pieces of paper that will blow away if you try to reach one of them, or trying to deal with a 20-page manifest on a clipboard in either a windstorm or a rainstorm. I think all of us that have been RVing for more than 5 years have been to an event where that's the automation level of the check-in, huh, Sandy?
Yes. Yeah. There are still some of those around, believe it or not.
Exactly. So we should say that in addition to Sandy working in the field, she is also a full-time RVer. Now, right now, where she is right now, she's not on the road. But tell us what Emerson, please. That's what happens. Work from home. You get kids that make noise. So tell us a little bit about your RVing history, and so people can know that, there's a lot of talk lately about influencers that are influencers. We don't know where they get their information, but there's certain topics that these influencers are giving incorrect information. But Sandy, you walk the walk before you talk the talk. Give us your background.
Well, I try to. My background, I have a consulting firm in technology, so that's my background. And I semi-retired. My husband and I had been wanting to buy an RV for years. We actually hired a consultant to help us buy our RV. And so he talked to us, he thought we were crazy when we offered to pay him to help us buy an RV. He was a former owner of a dealership and had retired. I got introduced to him and I said, I'll pay you to help me buy the right RV. Now, this was 12 years ago. And so it was pretty crazy. Nobody was doing anything like that, but I trusted his instincts and I wanted him to help me buy the right rig the first time. And he did. We absolutely loved it. We went full in with a Class A 42-foot diesel pusher, and it was amazing. So that's where we spent our first 10 years on the road. And then this past year, we decided that we might travel a little differently. And so I was doing a lot of work in the industry, and East to West had a new fifth wheel out. It was their very first one. We decided to try that out. So now we're in a fifth wheel. It's completely different travel experience. But now we've done both. But in the process, what was interesting was I was going to campgrounds, and I was realizing that they had the same needs that the nonprofits and a lot of my clients needed when it came to technology. And before I knew it, I had put myself back in business because I was helping over 100 campgrounds free of charge. And my husband looked at me one day and said, "Honey, I think you're back in business." And I'm like, "I do too." But I never missed the money. I loved it. I was going to do it anyway. And one thing led to another. And now I'm an industry advocate and work as a bridge between the manufacturers and the OEMs and suppliers and my campgrounds, helping them understand how important it is to see themselves in the same ecosystem. So that's what I get to do for fun.
Exactly. So, here's one thing that is very interesting with technology. I don't know, Sandy, if you can see the comments over on the right. Bill Sell, you can probably see him. I don't know if we could ever bring him in, but Bob Zagami is watching over our show. See, I thought I was going to be able to not mention his name all show and just have this John DiPietro's RVing in New England. But for some reason, he won't let go. He won't give me the show to do it all myself. And, I see Walter Burns is on tonight, who was going to be our second guest, but I'm sure, Walter's a good guy. And, they were sponsoring the seminars at his company, Easy Care. But Zagami is watching and listening from his seat. Imagine he's probably sitting up in first class, and he's got his laptop up there, and he's telling the people in the seats next to him, "Hey, see that guy there? I should be doing what he's doing tonight." But here I am on an airplane at 35,000 feet. So he's probably an hour into the air. He's probably over somewhere over North Carolina, and Sandy, he'll probably be flying over you pretty soon. So if you see a plane up there, it could be Zagami. But stop and say hello when you are up there. Oh, I'll come over for a beer. I don't know who he's talking to. He's got a side conversation. But Sandy, I thought it was important that people know that you are an RVer yourself, because and the point that you made about hiring a consultant to buy your first RV, help you, guide you in your first RV, you cut 6 months off the curve.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you say?
Oh, absolutely. And again, I didn't have that first buyer remorse that you hear about so often, right? Because he sat and talked to us about how we were going to travel. So,
and in most cases, your first RV is not a diesel pusher,
right?
In that case, there. But since you had been vetted, there are some people that say, we can't. I can't drive it. I drove it in the parking lot, but I can't drive it on I-95, or I can't make the turns. I can't do this. I can't, I've got 400 square feet, but I wanted to have my car with me. And the first time I pulled into a gas station, I had to back up, which I found out I couldn't do. So I took half of the 40. I took 24 feet of the 45 feet and put a racing stripe down at the Speedway gas station. I'm sure you're doing that as well, because our friend Jerry Plant, who's on with us tonight, is an inspector, and he helps people buy their first one, but he kind of does it a little bit differently. He inspects it after they pick it out. But you did something very interesting, and maybe there's somebody in the audience that is going to think of doing that if they've bought 5 or 6 RVs, of doing that to help others out, because it's worth. Do you mind telling us what you paid the gentleman?
I paid $2,500, and he worked with me for 6 months I mean, we did a phone call probably twice a month for 6 months. Every RV I looked at, I sent to him first, and he would say, that company's out of business. It's going to be really hard to get parts.
Yep.
And he would mitigate arguments between me and my husband because I tend to be a cheapskate. My dad was a CPA. My husband wanted diesel. I wanted gas. I said, they're a lot cheaper, right? But he said, wait a minute, Sandy, you live in Georgia and you're going to Washington State twice a year. You've got to go over mountains. You are never going to be happy with the gas. And he was absolutely right. And so he was just wonderful. And he was able to really give us good, legitimate reasons for why he was giving us the advice based on how we wanted to travel.
Yep. Yep. Ladies and gentlemen, if you've just joined us, this is RVing in New England. My name is John DiPietro. My colleague, Bob Zagami, is joining us as a member of the studio audience. He is in row 4B on JetBlue Flight 127 from Boston to Fort Myers, Florida. And he's probably on his third Jack Daniels by now. But nevertheless, well, he'd be that way if he was here on the show. So what it all boils down to is Sandy Ellingson is our guest. And Sandy, forgetting the part about the Albuquerque thing, because that's not all you do, but very good chance that you will be in Boston in 16 days, talking about your newest project, which is called RV Tech Bridge. Tell us about that.
Well, it's amazing. I've got the privilege of working with Lippert, who is creating this product called RV Tech Bridge. And the goal is to help solve the crisis that we have right now with not having enough technicians for all the rigs that we have. Most people don't realize that we only have one technician for every 4,000 rigs that are out there. And we can't really solve that problem rapidly.
Say that again, because I think people are going to be listening to that and think it's a misprint. Say that again, Sandy.
Nope. We have only one technician to every 4,000 rigs. And
so I would say that there might be
enough people quickly enough.
I would say that if you are a go-getter, that might be an industry that you could move up the ladder real quickly in. Even though you might not be the person that's turning the wrench yourself. So what's Lippert's role in this whole thing?
Well, so this is going to be a product that's powered by Lippert, although it's not going to be specific to just Lippert products. And basically the goal is to connect the consumer with a technician. One of the other things that we've learned through research is that about 80% of the issues that people have with a rig can be resolved by a couple of things without even engaging a technician. One is the proper training when they buy the rig. Second is understanding what maintenance is needed. And third is connecting with a knowledgeable technician who can most of the time walk them through doing the repair on their own, without having to have a technician come out. When we're able to do those things, that's going to really lighten up that workload for our RV techs to do the heavy lifting that we need them to do, that's on-site work.
The heavy lifting.
And so what we're finding is, the RV technicians are loving it because they're overburdened right now. They can't get to everybody, and they don't want to be the person that has to drive out there and flip a switch. And yet sometimes that happens.
Yep.
So
basically, let's put a different analogy to it. Let's put it in medical terms, because we hear about medical stuff all the time these days. I don't know why, but we do. But that's like having a heart surgeon be called to your house because you stubbed your toe.
Exactly right.
Right? Is that a good analogy?
Exactly right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Bernie Culleton, who's a sales rep at Campers Inn, and Chris Andro says, "What is the product called again from Lippert?" Oh, she cut out for me. It's RV. Bill, if you can put that up there again, RV Tech Bridge. Okay. And
yep.
Bernie,
and we're still in we've done our alpha.
Go ahead.
Yep. We've done our alpha launch. We're doing our beta launch after the first of the year. That's what we'll be talking about in Boston and in Tampa. And then later in the year, we'll do the full launch of the full-blown product. Right now, the part that we're working on, though, right now is that connecting individuals to a technician. And we've just been getting rave reviews. The people that are using the service are just loving it. And so we're really excited to expose it to more people.
So how does it going to work?
So
I want to buy your service. Do I buy the service? Do I sign up for it? Is it a membership? What is the deal? So
right now it is a monthly subscription. And you can do a one-time use just to try it out. $9.99. So you sign up, and that gives you unlimited access and calls to a technician. You can connect with the technician either.
Say that again with the price.
$9.99 a month.
$9.99.
$9.99 a month.
Under $10.
Yes.
Less than a shot of
exactly. And you get a certified technician on the other end of the phone, not somebody in a call center that is going to ask you a bunch of questions and try to pass you off. You are actually talking to a technician, and you can connect with them over the phone, through text, through email. I mean, everything. And we even have virtual reality.
And they don't necessarily need to be in your area where you're broken down.
Oh, no, not at all.
They can be anywhere.
It's really cool to watch, because when they call in, the technician can connect via the phone, and then they can hold their phone up and the technician can draw on the phone and say, "Oh, wait, point right here. I need to see this." And there's on their phone, they're seeing the arrow exactly where they want them to zoom in. And so it's really neat. And we've had a couple of people, one of the ladies that said, "I never would have thought I could do this by myself, but it was easy."
So basically, you might be in a situation where you've got there's no spark when you turn the ignition, but when he says go to the battery, and you see that for some reason the connector on the battery cable was either loose or had become dislodged, and heck of a lot easier for the RV owner themselves to apply that fix, and they don't have a 6-hour wait.
That's right.
I mean, you hear of situations where people, wait 6 hours for a tow truck, and then the tow truck shows up and it's smaller than the RV.
Yep.
That type thing. So here we go. Walter Swenson, how do they have enough techs to answer the phones if there are not enough techs to support the regular business?
So this is new, and we've got it where it's scaling right now to a fairly large number. But as we launch fully, then they'll be bringing on more techs. But a lot of them, there's a full plan behind this. But until all of that launches, I can't really talk about that piece of it. Only this piece. But just know there is a plan. There's also some really awesome things and partnership opportunities down the road with dealerships and all kind of things that this is going to open up the doors to be able to do. So just kind of keep your eyes open after the first of the year to hear a little bit more.
Yeah, I think it's important to point out, Sandy, that the problem is only going to get worse, because with 600,000 units being sold in calendar year 2021, and at least that same amount, when you hear about the multi-billion, not million, but billion-dollar backloads that the big three have as far as manufacturing is concerned. And at least, according to the dealers, and Bernie, you help me out on this, but I've talked to people at other dealerships where they said at least 50% of the sales that they made in the past year were for first-time RVers. So if you're a first-time RVer and, say you have a Class B, or, well, let's just use a Class C because it's easier to delineate the difference. The front end might be a Mercedes or a Dodge or a Ford, and the back end is either a Winnebago product or a Thor product or a Forest River product. The person the new owner doesn't know that, if the air conditioning from the dashboard doesn't work, you don't bring that to the Winnebago dealership. You bring that to the Ford, Mercedes, or Dodge dealership.
Right.
But they don't know that when they're stuck on I-70 in the middle of Ohio in 95-degree heat. my guess is that your program will make fixing easier. Is that a good way to do it?
Yes. Yeah. We could spend 3 or 4 shows with me talking about what is coming. It's going to be amazing. But right now I have a gag order on me, so I can't talk about it yet.
Okay. So basically we're squeezing information out of you little by little because we've got 2 more questions. April Wright. Do you know April Wright?
Yes, I do.
Okay.
She is one of our amazing techs.
Okay, well, there you go. Say about what April is saying there. And this is not set up.
If you're
I don't know.
retired, so she's okay. So one of the things that we are really interested in doing, and we've already started this, and it's been really successful, is if you're a retired tech, you still want to kind of be in the game, but you don't want to be the one driving out or doing some of the heavy lifting. Or we actually have some technicians who have had some physical disabilities or illnesses that wouldn't allow them to climb up on a rig or anything like that anymore. But they're totally amazing at talking to people on the phone. Those are the kind of people that are going to help us get through some of this and be some of our our techs that'll be answering the phones. So you're going to get years of experience from somebody who really wants to keep working but can't do it the way they used to, right? And so the opportunities are just endless. So yeah, so April's recruiting. She's saying, hey, call me if this is you.
Well, do we have contact info on April, or is she under a gag order too?
No, she's not. Well, yeah, she's like me. She's under a gag order too.
Okay. So folks, let's do this. We don't want to get you in trouble. We don't want to get April arrested, even though we don't know where April is.
April, you can post in the comments your contact info.
Oh, there it goes. So, I don't know whether April's married name is right or whether her name is right, but April told me off the air, she said, I knew I married Mr. Wright, but I didn't know his first name was Always.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good one. That's a pretty good one. Now,
you're pretty good, John.
There's another point here that question came up from Chris Andro. I'm trying to find it here. And Chris is Chris went from who's who to who's through because he just finished his term as president of the RVDA, the RV Dealers Association. Yep. Of all the dealers in the country that belong to the association, Chris was the #1 guy. Great job by Lippert at Hemlock Hill, which is his family dealership. They're laser focused, making sure buyers understand the true and full ownership experience. And we will show folks what they truly need to know, what they know. They want to spend more time using than fixing. And Sandy, I'm sure that when you looked under the hood of that diesel pusher that you had, or just under one of the fuse walls that open up, right, and look at the wires. There were colors of wires that you didn't know existed, right, Sandy?
There were so many of them, it was hard to distinguish where one stopped and the other one started.
Exactly. So, there are issues. There is a responsibility of the owner of kind of knowing that they have to change the oil every once in a while, that they have to, I've talked to dealers, sales reps at dealers that got phone calls from customers that were in their second week of ownership and didn't realize they had to clean the tanks. I mean, we might laugh at that stuff, but whatever. So Walter Swenson has a question here. If the auto dealer will even touch an RV chassis, many will not touch them lately based on user reports. That's very interesting.
That is true. We've had a lot of reports of that.
Yep. I know the Mercedes dealership that I work with my Sprinter doesn't touch anything in the back, but they will change the oil and, that type of thing. Zagami says, excellent point, April. And Tom says, this is a long time coming. I've been lucky with Tiffin. I call them. April says, bingo. Ed Laturco says, hello, Zagami. Yep. Will all the techs be in Elkhart, or can they be anywhere in the country and connected in the system? That's a question for April.
I'll let her answer. And while she's answering, I'll tell Chris that he's exactly the kind of subject matter expert I need on my team. So he needs to hit April up so we can follow up with him offline.
Who are you talking about?
Chris Andro.
Oh, Chris Andro. Okay. Exactly. I mean, because they know with a good sized family owned and family run dealership, what they're competing against with the big people in getting techs. I mean, every RV dealer will tell you these days, in the last year and a half, selling is not their problem. Not right. Sales is not the problem. It's getting the service end of it. And it's a major issue at every, what's the term, RV, the repair cycle, something, whatever it is.
I know what you're talking about. I just, I can't remember what it is.
The time frame. Bernie Colton says, oftentimes the service bays or lots will not fit something more than 10 foot. Well, that's true with the car dealers. And there are, it's funny, when we got our unit, was a 2008, and Mercedes was owned by Dodge then, or Dodge was owned by Mercedes, whatever. But there's so many Dodge dealerships that couldn't fit. They could fit the Sprinter van that the painter or the electrician used, but couldn't fit the motorhome in. So oftentimes that's so true. We need to get April on the show sometime soon. Great story. Chris Andro gives you a thumbs up, and we just got a couple minutes left before we got to go to our tape. April Wright says, empowering RVers through education on those maintenance issues is a key thing we want our technicians to help subscribers understand. We all had to do everything on our RVs the first time at some point. We want to ensure RVers are comfortable with their rigs. They don't end up being storage ornaments. And they don't, you know what, Sandy? I think everybody would agree that we have more of an obligation to these new people coming into the industry now, into the lifestyle now, so that they don't become disgruntled and, sell the product cheaply and say, I'm getting out of it, and be bad ambassadors of the issue, of the industry.
Yep.
And
the whole pandemic and the growth in the industry brought a lot of opportunities, right? That seemed like problems. And I love that Lippert had the heart and the culture to be willing to try and tackle something like this.
Yep.
Because quite honestly, there's not a lot in it for them right now, except to make the industry better. And because they do care and they really want to keep people
it's
camping.
kind of a goodwill and
but
marketing
what's
thing.
so cool about this is that what's so cool is this really is the opportunity to help dealers, to help the technical institutes, to recruit for training, to help the consumer be a happier camper and make it easier. I mean, it really does help everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. There's the word, repair event cycle time. That's what they talk about at the corporate meetings. But anyway, Sandy, we want to thank you so much. We've got a video to play about, ways to get more out of the RV show buying experience. And we want to thank you so much. We'll look forward to seeing you in Boston. And maybe we'll have April and you come on together to talk more about this project. I know Bob has a date with Mr. Lippert within the next couple of weeks to talk about it as well. So, the beauty of this whole thing is we have RVers helping RVers, and that's always nice.
Come see me in Tampa or Boston.
Have happened. So you'll be in Tampa for those
April
people that
will be with me
down there. And
I'm in.
Go ahead.
I said I'll be at the Lippert booth, and so will April in Tampa.
Perfect. And let me ask Bill, if you have that, I don't know if you can technically do this, but before you go to the Zagami tape, if you have the capability to play the RV show commercial and then go right into that. And guys, listen to this tape segment that Mr. Zagami and I did today. It's all about, and even for veterans, if you already own an RV, there are so many mistakes that people make in going to RV shows and coming out of there either more confused than when they went in, or upset that they weren't able to talk to a sales rep or whatever. When you listen to this tape, a lot of the confusion of going to an RV show is going to be eliminated. So, Bill, it's all yours. If we can go to that commercial first and then to the other tape.
The Boston RV and Camping Expo is back January 14th through 17th at the Boston Convention Center. 3 football fields of RVs from New England's top dealers. With inventory tight, it's your chance to see the latest models and get your order in now. Tickets at bostonrvexpo.com.
Hey everybody, this is the time of the year. Actually, every weekend from January through March, you could be going to an RV show. And with so many people getting into RVing for the first time in the last couple of years, and especially in the time period coming up, we have put together a program that allows you to make the best of attending an RV show. So evidently, as they say, folks, we are experiencing technical difficulties. But basically, a couple of the things that we talked about when you're attending an RV show, and I know Bill will try to fix this as we go along here. And hey everybody, this is the time of the year. Actually, every weekend from January through March, you could be going to an RV show. And with so many people getting into RVing for the first time in the last couple of years, and especially in the time period coming up, we have put together a program that allows you to make the best of attending an RV show. My name is John DiPietro. I'm here with Bob Zagami. Bob has many, many years of experience in going to shows, running shows, putting on shows, speaking at shows. And Bob, you got to admit, going to an RV show for the first time for someone who's never looked into RVing before, it can be a pretty daunting experience, wouldn't it?
It is, because they don't know what to expect when they first go in there. And you said that I've been going to shows for many years. I think I've been going more than 50 years now. One of my first ones was in Suffolk Downs in Boston, Mass, many, many years ago. But they can be daunting for people going the first time. And right now, with the marketplace has 50% of our new buyers being first-time buyers, they're thirsty for knowledge and education. And that's one of the things that people should look at as they evaluate which shows they're going to be going to.
Yeah, exactly. So basically, you get into a situation where I think it's probably best to say that before you even think of going to the show, there's so much research that can be done online before stepping foot at the show floor. And I think one of the biggest decisions that people have to make, because they say, oh, I'm going to buy an RV, but they don't specify, or they don't even know the difference between a motorized RV, one that you get in and drive, and one that if you already have a pickup truck or an SUV that you can tow. Define the two advantages and disadvantages of each of those.
Well, it's personal choice. If you drive a motorhome, in many cases, you're going to tow a vehicle behind that motorhome for when you're at the campground, you want to run errands or run into town or visit some tourist attractions. The alternative to that is to buy a truck or a heavy duty car to tow a trailer or a fifth wheel. Then you're going to disengage the trailer in the campground and use your other vehicle. It really comes down to personal choice. Some people just look at a large motorhome and think that they can never drive it. Others feel more safe with the trailer behind them and being able to maneuver easier into camp spots and city streets. So it really, it's something that they have to get used to and should talk to their friends, their family members that have had trailers and motorhomes before to get a sense of what it's like. I can tell you this, that whether they decide to buy a 40-foot motorhome or a 38-foot fifth wheel with a 20-foot truck, they can drive it as long as they spend a lot of time practicing and getting used to it. It's not overwhelming.
Yeah. And you know what? For the purists out there, I should say that there really are three choices. You say towable and you say motorized, but there's also the pickup truck camper where the house part slides onto the pickup truck bed. And then when you drive in that, but then when you get to the campground, you can drop the house off and use the truck. So there really is three separate choices, and those truck campers are really making a comeback, aren't they?
Well, they are. And you know, one of the things that why people like them so much is that they probably want to tow something else behind the truck. So they have the RV in the truck, and then they can tow a boat or a canoe or some other, you know, an ATV, a toy, you know, something that they are going to play with in the woods. They can tow that on a trailer behind the truck. So it becomes multifunctional for them.
Okay. So now you've kind of decided what you want to look for. And the time now is to come to the show. So you go to the show, and some shows are held, again, these shows are all over the United States. So some are held indoors in large exhibition halls, and some are held outdoors. And should you go to the show early in the morning, late in the day? Should you bring the kids with you? Talk about those three things quickly.
Well, it depends on the day. If you're going, you know, a lot of shows are run over a weekend. So Saturdays and Sundays, early in the morning, are probably the busiest times, and you'll have long lines. So I would suggest, if you're going on a weekend, to go midday. If it's a Friday or a Monday, you know, running over a holiday weekend, then I would go early in the morning or afternoon, based on, you know, what we see from the crowd sources. But you can guarantee this, no matter when you go, it's going to be crowded. You know, we sold 600,000 RVs this year. We have more people coming into the marketplace. We have more people who are investigating it. So years ago, a lot of times the people who went to the RV shows were people who owned RVs. They just wanted to go look for another one. So it was a smaller marketplace. Now, with the interest in RVs in every demographic segment of society, the shows are going to be packed.
Okay. So that begs the question, do you bring the kids? Because again, if you're a young family and you've got kids that are, you know, say between the ages of 4 and 12, size is an issue as to how big the bunks are. Or do you leave the kids at home? What do you suggest on that part?
You know, for many years, you never saw the kids at the shows. It was always the parents buying it. But it's such a family adventure now. We even see kids in strollers that are 2 and 3 weeks old. So you've got the whole gamut of families. It is good. The kids are, 8, 9 years old, where they can appreciate what an RV is and they truly enjoy camping. It is good to have them along. I don't suggest people bring infants to the show. It's not, it's an intimidating place for an infant, and you're trying to get around with a stroller and the aisles are filled with people, but they do it. But I'd suggest the older kids definitely, and make it a day for the family, and involve them in the decision process, because it's a big investment, and the kids have to have buy-in in terms of the layout, the floor plan, and they're going to want to know where the sleeping quarters are. And we have a tremendous amount of product right now with bunk beds and even double bunk beds, not just the single.
Yep.
So you could have four kids in a real small area for them.
Okay. So now we've made the decision what we want to buy. We've gone to the show. And when you get to the show, so many consumer shows, whether it's a ski show, whether it's a home show, whether it's, a recreation show, whatever, they all have signs that say show specials, buy today. Are those specials real, or are those just put up as a come on?
Years ago, it was probably just a sales tactic, but in today's marketplace, they're for real. One of the challenges for all the dealers this year is going to be having enough inventory to bring to the show, number one. And it's difficult for them to advertise prior to the show on what they're going to bring to the show. So most shows will have a disclaimer that any products that are advertised prior to the show are subject to a prior sale, because people are coming on the lot, and if they've got the RV and the RV they want, they're going to buy it right then. Okay. So it's going to be difficult. And they will be specials this year for pre-orders of units. So we'll see a lot more ordering at the show this year because of the market conditions. The consumer know they're leaving the lots very quickly.
So you get to the show, you pay a good amount of money to get in, you pay for parking, et cetera, but you can't quite either get the time from a salesperson at the show that particular day, and it's getting to be closing time. There is an old, I shouldn't say a trick, but there is a way to ask your dealership for a pass to come back the next day. Is that right? So that it gives you two things. Number one, you can kind of think about it overnight, but secondly, maybe get back the next morning when it's not quite as crowded and have more time with your salespeople. I think a lot of people don't take advantage of that opportunity.
You're right. And most show promoters have that option. Most dealers have that option to be able to give them a guest pass for a second day to come back and evaluate, especially if they spent a lot of time with them. And again, if it's a first time buyer and this is their first show, they're going to be confused. They're going to need more time to make a decision.
Okay. So you see, you go to the show and then you see a sign at the dealership, at the area that the specific dealership has, big open house next week. So it seems that there are many dealers that the week after the show or the 10 days after the show, some of them will honor show pricing, but they kind of want you to come to the showroom where you can certainly have a bigger choice of inventory and see the dealership face to face. Are those type of dealer open houses still in vogue?
Yeah, and they're very important because years ago, go back 10, 20 years ago, RV shows were buying shows, especially before the internet. They didn't have ways to evaluate. Now, 70% of the research is done prior to ever going to the show. So more consumers use the show to select one or two dealers at the show that they're comfortable with, that there are products that they're interested in, and then visit them for a more in-depth discussion at the open house. So they're very important. And so they've done their research, they've picked out 2 or 3 units that they want to see. They go to the show, and it's impossible for any dealer to have all of the products, all the floor plans, all the colors at the show. It's really designed to show you a sampling of what's available in the marketplace, and then come visit us at open house, and we'll show you 10 of these instead of the one that I've got on display here.
So many choices, so many colors, so many models, so many floor plans, so many color schemes inside, et cetera, et cetera. Certainly a confusing road to follow, but the satisfaction that people get after that, when they pull into the campsite with their first night camping and the smell of the campfire, it's all magic. And we want to thank you, Bob Zagami, for taking time from your busy schedule to give us some of the tips that would allow us to make the best decision after attending an RV show and buying your first RV.
Okay, thanks, John.
So there you go, folks. We hope you learned something during that segment. And again, it'll be available for viewing over and over again right here on RVing in New England. So that's the story. We want to thank Sandy Ellingson for being our special guest tonight. We want to thank Bob Zagami for joining us from 30,000 feet. In fact, as we speak right now, at just about 8 o'clock, Bob is probably flying over Sandy's house. So with that being said, this is RVing in New England. We'll see you next week. And remember, January 14 through 17, the Boston RV and Camping Expo, live at the Boston Convention and Expo Center. We'll see you there. Get your tickets up front in advance online and skip the lines on show days. Have a great day, everybody.
This edition of RVing in New England was a presentation of the New England RV Dealers Association. Thanks for watching, and be sure to like us on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram.